Welcome to Creator Upload, your creator economy podcast. I'm Lauren Schnipper.
And I'm Joshua Cohen. Lauren.
Yes.
You had kind of two co-hosts when I was out last week.
I did. And one of them would have been larger than you, but like I had two. I didn't mean physically larger. I meant just like it's like I needed, or I could say like two. I needed two to take the place of you.
There we
it turns
go.
out that was not the case. I think I could just like do as with read AI forever, and I think that he'd give me a lot, maybe more than you give me. I don't know,
Or just a random like fourth grader.
I don't know if you saw the clip of him tucking me into bed, talking about how he would make everything would be okay, but it's maybe my greatest piece of content I've ever been a part of, and that's saying a lot. There's been a lot in my history. Google it.
I have been listening to it late night.
Yeah, well, it should be on the Calm app. You know what I mean? Do you ever do those Calm, like, you know, help you go to bed sort of things? I feel like that's what it should be on.
Totally. Yes, there should be a whole read AI version of just tucking you into sleep.
Yeah, 100%. And you were in Amish country, as I understand, which feels fitting.
Why does it feel fitting?
It tracks. Go on.
I was in Amish country because it was my kid's spring break.
And that's a natural.
Yeah, of course. You're in New Jersey.
As one does spring break in Amish country. Uh-huh.
Amish country's within driving distance. Lancaster, Pennsylvania, we went to. Fantastic piece of God's country. All the farmland and stuff is actually very cool. We got a little Amished out in the first 4 or 5 hours.
Sure.
Just a bus tour of the local lands, learned about some local customs, and then went into a replica one-room schoolhouse and Amish house and learned more about the way that they live.
And they currently live like that. Like I've been to the one-room schoolhouses from like old time, but this is current, right?
Current. First through 8th grade, all in one room. 8th graders and first graders.
So there's like they recognize that people like tour. They like this is like an official tour, so they know that people come to like look at them and like what they do.
This specifically is a replica.
It's a replica. Okay, got it.
But yes, they have food stands, pretzels, local goods, quilts, crafts, handmade furniture.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the soft baked pretzels! I was smelling everybody's.
Did you? Oh,
so good.
Because gluten, guys, can't you say? And they haven't. Gluten-free hasn't gotten to Amish country yet.
Not quite yet.
By the way, shout out to a buddy of mine in LA, Adam Shapiro, who created Shappy Pretzels. Google it. Great story about how it came up. He's an actor, a very successful actor. His wife, Katie Lowe's, I guess, has recently discovered that she got celiacs or something. So he is currently testing a gluten-free. He's in the creation stages of a gluten-free. His thing is Philly pretzels, so similar, probably, I'm sure, to the Amish country ones.
I'm sure.
So there's been a lot of content of her trying not so good gluten-free pretzels, but I trust that he's going to get there. So
I'm particularly excited for this. Yeah, God bless him.
Yeah, no, it's exciting.
We need more of that in the world.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. It's exciting.
Very talented chefs who have people who can't eat gluten close to their lives is just a boon for everybody.
It's a boon. Except I think we have to also remember, because my husband's slightly gluten-free, it's not carb-free, everybody. Just for the record, gluten-free flour, as I understand it, has more carbs. So I just feel like we need to
by no means necessarily healthier. The only way it's healthier is because of the omission, because you can't eat lots of stuff. But as soon as more of these, like particularly gluten-free pizza and gluten-free pretzels, comes to taste more like the original, no health benefits whatsoever.
All right. Well, before we get into some stories, we have Justin Flom coming on later, a friend of the podcast, king of the shorts, I would say. Going to talk about with Josh that this change in the way YouTube is counting and calculating shorts views. So excited to get to that soon. But before we get to that, I want to talk about YouTube's quarterly ad revenue, which is approaching $9 billion, year-over-year increase of 10.3%. Overall, Alphabet exceeded projections by generating $90.23 billion in quarterly revenue. And of course, one of the big areas of growth continues to be TV screens, right? YouTube connected TV is continuing to be just like a huge boon for YouTube. And it's largely, they're attributing a lot of this to the advent or the release of Premium Lite. Of course, YouTube Premium, it's like $12 a month and you get all the ad-free YouTube Music, all the things. But YouTube Premium Lite, $6.99 a month, and you get ad-free videos. That's it, but you do get you don't get music and all these other kind of things. But it's definitely helped sort of increase that viewership on connected TVs. Josh, what do you think about these numbers?
Lauren, first off, Massive numbers. Again, I'm going to put my pitch to YouTube. Incredible marketing if you just put a ticker in Times Square, someplace that just showed how much revenue you were generating for creators, is orders of magnitude more than any of these other platforms. And I don't think people really realize that, but they could with one of my ingenious ideas on how to showcase that to them. In any case, huge numbers
one
again
of them,
from YouTube.
I mean, let's be clear, it's literally the only one that you've been pitching now for 5 years, but go on.
Sure. And this tracks across the whole entire industry as well. So the IAB this week also released their 2025 digital video ad spending and strategy report, which top lines in 2024, they said the US digital video ad spend was up 18% that year to $64 billion. This year in 2025, it's expected to rise another 14% to $72 billion. Like you said, Lauren, an increasing chunk of this is attributed to CTVs. Connected TV advertising revenue alone generated $23.6 billion in 2024. It's expected to generate $26.6 billion this year. The IAB expects this to increase too, with brands reallocating ad spend from other types of media. For example, 36% of advertisers said they intend to reallocate funds from both linear TV and social media in favor of connected TV. 34% said they intend to reallocate from online video, that's excluding YouTube, while 33% said they intend to reallocate from other types of traditional ads, and 31% said they'll siphon away from digital display ads. So CTV having this like gravitational pull on the advertising industry. Two things come to mind here. One, YouTube's just going to continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger as it dominates more of the lean back and television viewing experience. And also, just everything old is new again. Ad-supported television is hot. It wasn't for a minute. Now it is. And more money keeps getting funneled into it.
Yep. Everything old is new again. Okay. I want to just bring up one other kind of Q1 report, which is Snap's Q1 report revenue, $1.36 billion, making a 14% year-over-year increase, slightly above the $1.35 billion estimate. The big news here, though, is that despite these sort of positive kind of earnings, the stock declined. Why? Because they are declining to and sort of refraining from providing any sort of forecast for the upcoming quarter, citing sort of the macro economic uncertainties and potential impact on advertising that will have. And that's just, and so the stock sort of declined 14% in after hours trading as a result. And it's just become this huge, it was all over my feed and LinkedIn that like Snap is not even going to bother, just understandably in a lot of ways, like projecting what the heck's going to happen because of just all the economic volatility and uncertainty going on, which I feel like that's not something you see very often in terms of just the unwillingness to sort of even project anything.
Well, kudos to Evan Spiegel for just being honest too.
Yeah.
How can they project anything in this kind of environment?
I mean, God knows, right?
God only knows.
I mean, God only knows at this point.
Lauren, real quick before we move on to another topic, IAB put out another report this week, which is its Measuring the Digital Economy, Advertising, Content, Commerce, and Innovation report. It does this one about once every 4 years. So the Interactive Advertising Bureau writes it in partnership with Harvard Business School professor emeritus John Dayton. And the last time this report came out was 2020. They found that creator jobs have grown 7.5 times since that time. In 2020, around 200,000 individuals.
What do you mean by that? You mean the amount of full-time creators? That's what you mean?
Correct. Yes.
Yes.
The amount of full-time creators in 2020 was estimated to be about 200,000 in the United States. That's now jumped up to 1.5 million. Also, revenue from the creator economy is growing 5 times the rate of the traditional media sector. A lot of the driving force behind this growth is a lot of the stuff we talked about here on this podcast, which is advertising dollars shifting from legacy media to platform streamers, digital publishers. There's way fewer barriers to entry now. People recording on their smartphones. There's zero cost and really high functioning editing tools. Generative AI and ChatGPT are making content creation a lot easier as well. And the closer relationships that creators continue to have with their audiences are making those relationships much more monetizable and monetizable to bigger degrees and in more ways. If you're in this ecosystem, this is just a big revelation that could be on the cover of No Duh magazine. But it is cool to see some big reports come out with some big, seemingly well-documented, well-researched numbers that put some metrics behind a lot of this growth that we're just naturally seeing every day in this ecosystem.
One of the stats I really liked was 435 is the number of U.S. congressional districts that are home to citizens with internet-dependent jobs. In other words, like, that's how many places throughout the country, and it's not just New York and LA, that like people are fully, making their money off of the internets, which I think is, this is why it's so important, I think, for our government to understand this industry and promote and collaborate and give support to.
Totally. What this report calls the internet-supported economy equals out to contributing about $4.9 trillion a year to the U.S. GDP. That's about 18%. That's up from 2% in 2008. Yeah. 2008 was a long time ago, but still. It's also the leading driver of GDP growth in the country, according to this report.
And the purpose of this study, which I think is really important, and I think it speaks to why so many people should read this, it's to define the digital economy, determine the employment and value of economic activity enabled by this ecosystem, determine its geographic dispersion, identify the companies associated with it, and determine the contribution of advertising to support it. So I think they're doing God's work there to try to define and amplify the extent of which this is happening. And so people rightly should pay attention and, again, support and give resources to folks in this ecosystem.
Lauren, just double clicking on that to use one of your turns of phrase.
Sure.
Sam Reich.
It's mine, only mine. Yeah, go on.
Who's the CEO of College Humor, now Dropout.
Yeah.
Talks about this a lot when he's on his podcast circuit, where he thinks there should be a Secretary of the Arts. So in government, we have Secretary of Agriculture, Secretary of Education, Secretary of all these different types of departments. Specifically in terms of Secretary of Agriculture, the arts in the U.S. is a bigger percentage of GDP than agriculture. Yet there's no government kind of body and government practices and official programs that are dedicated at the federal level in any meaningful way to the arts. I realize this IAB report is about the internet itself, but it just brings to mind how big these verticals and these economies that we interact with are, and how data like this can help it be represented at a higher level. Other countries like Canada and the UK have incredible arts programs.
So that's just about contributing arts. I think you're conflating two things, in my opinion. You're conflating like the arts, and you're conflating like with just sort of like the actual economy around sort of the digital ecosystem. In July 2023, Elizabeth Warren and Lindsey Graham, you don't really say those two names in a sentence, without, eliciting ire from certain folks, but they produced sort of this proposal for the Digital Consumer Protection Commissions Act, which would have created, which proposes to create this new federal agency called the Digital Consumer Protection Commission, tasked with regulating major tech companies, Meta, Google, etc. And so it would have the authority to enforce consumer privacy protections, promote fair competition, enhance transparency in digital platforms, and address national security concerns related to digital technologies. So this is like a proposed version of not even legislation, a new, like the FTC, like a new federal agency where the sort of creator economy would probably be housed under, because it would regulate, the big sort of technology, which I think is absolutely overdue and needed. So I think you're talking about two different things here, to be fair, Josh. This report was not talking about like arts as much as like the economics behind folks that are creating content online, and how we need to have things like, you think of things about like, if you're working from your home, like what does it look like to have like, health insurance and all these other things as it relates. If you've got a vast majority of young people in your state that are doing this, they're going to become voters, and they're going to want folks that like, propose, again, resources to help people that are working independently.
Totally hear what you're saying. So I shoehorned in the reference about the arts.
You really did. Oh, you're a lover, not a fighter. What can you say?
I apologize to our audience and our listeners.
Sure.
I'll do better next time.
All right, we're going to get to Josh's interview with Justin Flom.
Justin, I am so happy to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And for those who don't know, Justin Flom is a magician, viral video wizard, content creator. He's been in this game for several years, first blowing up on Facebook, Facebook Live, Facebook Video, and now just crushing it on all short form platforms, YouTube included, getting anywhere from several 100 million to 1.5, 1.6 billion views a month on that platform. He's been on the show before, friend of the podcast. But Justin, what I'm really stoked to talk to you about today is this recent change in short form viewership on YouTube and how it's impacted you.
Yeah, YouTube is still the main focus for me, and the change was certainly notable. Yeah, keep going.
And just to give everybody some context here, YouTube made the decision that on April 1st, it was going to change the way that it calculated shorts form viewership. So before that, it counted views as some undetermined length of time that a person actually watched the short video. Now it's counting views as of April 1st as any time that short form video is seen or just starts to play. And that includes replays after the video is finished. That puts that metric on par with other short-form video platforms. Instagram blatantly says that it calculates views like this. TikTok doesn't blatantly say, but everyone presumes that it counts views like this. And so it makes the short-form viewership on YouTube, at least the way it's calculated, again, on an equal playing field with those other video platforms as YouTube tries to compete with them for more share of creator videos, brand dollars, influencer marketing dollars, etc. And I felt there was no better person to talk about this change and how it's impacted anybody than you.
Thank you, man. Yeah, the change is big. There's a lot of big changes in the short form world happening on all the different platforms, but I think maybe where the most change has happened is currently on YouTube, and we'll talk about it because there's two actually big changes since the last time we talked, at least on camera, which is this views change, which you just did a great job of unpacking, but also now you can do 3-minute videos on the short feed. So that's also a giant change. And no platform is going in through more flux, I feel, than YouTube. I mean, I think we are very soon to see Facebook go through a big change with their discovery feed, with just some algorithm shifts and monetization changes over there. But for right now, the algorithm that probably looks most different on your phone is YouTube. Now, this views thing is really something, I don't know strategically what they're doing, so I can't speak for them naturally, but it seems that it is something to entice creators because views are a vanity metric. So you reached out to me and you're like, hey, what are you seeing with this thing? And what I saw is views doubled and earnings stayed exactly the same. Now, to me, that doesn't bother me, actually, because views, if you look at it as a vanity metric, and I do, I'm more concerned with engagement and pay because this is my job. So
of course.
I want to look at where the money is going because that's actually where the most engaged viewers are going to be. Because those are the ones who are actually engaging with the content and all that. Views is just nice because what it will do is it'll tell you how your reach is doing. But you can actually still see views on YouTube the old way. They just call it something different now. They call it engaged viewers. So you can see that your views have gone up, but money is probably the same because, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, it seems that in the last several years, all of the platforms with discovery feeds, swipe feeds, so this is Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Facebook is a discovery feed, but has long form in it, and TikTok now is long form. But all of these discovery feeds used to pay more, so this is pre-YouTube Shorts, and there was a time even on TikTok where 1 million views could equal $1,000. Facebook certainly, 1 million views, $1,000. And now we're seeing that all the platforms go, okay, whoa, we've got a lot of content coming in. Not only that, we have a lot of good content that's not even being monetized because there's just an amateur creator who's putting stuff up for fun, and it's great. So we can't pay for all of this discovery feed, swipe feed content like we were doing back in 2020, 21. And Instagram has overtly said that, like, hey, we're not paying because our platform's really good unpaid.
And you were getting paid, and people like you were getting paid at that time, though, through these creator payment programs from these platforms.
There was some creator payment programs, but most of it was rev share, through ad dollars on Facebook. But yes, there was a nice program that YouTube had at the beginning. That was great. I've done bonuses on Instagram, things like that, which have kind of gone away.
Mm-hmm.
But the main thing is all of these platforms, but YouTube is smart. They go, all right, we're paying less. What can we give the users or the creators that they want? And it's then the vanity metric of views. So I think there's some creators who will be very happy to see, all right, hey, views are up, and they're not really even thinking about what that means in the back end. I think there's probably a lot who didn't even notice that it's a new way of counting. They're just feeling, hey, since April 1st, my views are double. And that's all to entice creators over to, each of these platforms would love to be exclusive to whatever creator. So that does make sense.
And so you're seeing about 100% increase, 2x versus the viewership you got before. And is that kind of uniform of what you're experiencing kind of across the board, talking to other short form creators as well?
Yes. And I see a similar thing on Facebook so you got two kinds of Facebook uploads for now. Looks like that may change, but right now it's VOD, meaning you just upload the video and it's organic upload, or you got a reel, which is a little bit more similar to Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts. Reels, same thing. Views will be way higher than a VOD, but the pay will be way lower. And my hunch, and I don't know, but my hunch is that that's because Reels is counting views like Vine back in the day.
Totally.
Every loop adds a number. And every time you just start the video, it adds a number, which is cool. Like, we love seeing that number grow. But for those of us who do this for a living, you kind of start to ignore the views because you can end up with 50 million views and $500.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, that's rough. I put a lot of work to get that my 50 million views is hard, especially now as competition has gone up.
Yeah, I described it when we first were talking about this as humans like big number go up. And that's why basically YouTube is making this change. And so, like you said, there's still this engaged viewership stat that individual creators can see in their backend on YouTube, which is calculated by the old way that YouTube is calculating views on shorts. And YouTube also said that monetization is going to be calculated from the engaged views metric as well. What kind of monetization are you seeing on YouTube from shorts now?
I'm still seeing good monetization. It's actually where I put most of my focus is on the money there. I'll have my guy look up what it looks like for 1 million views as far as payment. Look at a couple of them because it's all over the map.
Why is it different from different videos? How does that work?
That's a great question. So here's a great example. There's 2 videos, and I know off the top of my head, and I'll figure out what the numbers are, but I know the ratio. 2 videos that were of the same concept, which was me putting a trampoline in one of my closets, ripping out the floor, and so you could jump from upstairs down into a trampoline. It's a crazy bit. It's still over there. And one version, there's no talking. No English, no subtitles. It's just a door opening and closing. And every time the door opens, you see further progress of this crazy project. And then there's another video where I'm talking, I'm narrating, and I say, hey, this is what I want to do. Wouldn't this be crazy? We paint the room, we do this, and here we go. That video did half the views.
Wow.
But double the money. Why? Well, because Americans were watching it. It was England, Canada, America, Germany. These were the people that were watching that video, and those people get higher ad dollars. So I don't know how YouTube calculates it because unlike Facebook back in 2020, there's not a mid-roll ad, or unlike YouTube main, there's not a mid-roll or pre-roll ad. So it's hard to know exactly how they're calculating it, but they are saying these viewers are a little bit more expensive. It's about $100 a million right now, which is, then I'll do 1 billion views in a month. I've stayed pretty consistent at 1 billion a month. But what I've found, and when I talk to other creators, I go, here's the key on YouTube: consistency. Just whatever you can do to post. I try for daily. I don't hit it often because the projects have gotten big and hard. But when I post consistently, I see back catalog go up. I see a consistent earning, so then I can look and go, wow, I'm doing great on YouTube every month, and it's from videos that are old still going.
And then when you said about $100 per million views, are those 1 million engaged views? Are those 1 million views?
Engaged views. So that might mean that we might be down to $50 a million on the new way of counting. Either way, it's not really equitable to look at that dollar amount and think that it'll be the same for your shorts or for my shorts. It all has to do with audience. So what I encourage creators to do is I go, hey, this view thing is fun. Don't worry about it. What I'm more concerned with is where you get to monster views, and that's where I want Gospel Stats and TubeFilter to be on my bookmark page, so that I can go there and go, what are people watching at the top? And there's not a lot of places where you can look at charts of what's the highest performing. And I don't know why that is. Why do you think that is? Do the platforms not want us to see what's getting the most views? I wish they made it easier, but luckily TubeFilter is there to show us who's getting the most.
Thank you. Our TubeFilter charts are great. People do really love them. Thank you for being a supporter of that. I think it's just a matter of resources. Like, the platforms don't necessarily want to, pick favorites. Here, they wouldn't really be picking favorites because it would be determined by whatever the viewership is. But I don't think it does them any favors to show what's the top performing thing on their sites. Now that their sites have reached this huge critical mass of individuals, right, where it kind of doesn't matter what's top performing. And maybe even the stuff that's top performing isn't the type of stuff that they like to encourage other people to produce. And I do
understand, they want creators to be able to build an audience and to have a niche. I don't do that. I actually do a very unique thing, at least in terms of content creator, where I don't want a niche and I don't want a particular audience, because with a swipe feed or a discovery feed, every piece of content will be judged on that video kind of alone. So subscribers is certainly a vanity metric that almost doesn't matter now, because you can have 10,000 subscribers and get a 100 million hit video. So I've got 32 million subscribers, and I can still have a video go to 50,000 people if it's a stinker. So that means that every time I do a video, I'm trying to cast as wide of net as possible. And that means I want that opening to be as understandable to everyone, which means no niche, no speaking directly to an audience like, hey, you guys know that I love the Muppets. Well, for the 100 million people who potentially will swipe past this thing, they hear that, they go, I don't know who this guy is, and I don't care. And they're gone. But if I were to, create something around what I like in an engaging way for the masses, and taking into account the assumption nobody knows who I am, even at 1 billion views a month, nobody knows who I am.
Yeah.
Most of your viewers are tuning in and they're going, I think I've seen that guy.
Yeah.
I don't know his name. And it's a humbling, weird thing. I do get recognized in public, and it always goes, I love your videos. You do the spray paint stuff or the crazy secret passageways. What's your name?
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's a funny thing, but that's the way that the discovery feed works. Anyway, that was a tangent. Keep going.
And then just tell us real quick before we let you go, what type of monetization are you seeing from short form content on these other platforms too?
Instagram is none, and it's sad. It's not none. It's very, very low. There's some kind of bonus in there. I don't even know, because the dollar amount is very low. I'm doing hundreds of millions on Instagram each month, and $1,000 will come in or something like that. So that's depressing. TikTok is also low, but that's where the viewers are, which brings me to this. All right. You can change the metrics on how you count views. You can change the payment. We are in a new era of short form content, and you will have to monetize it in different ways. If you have an audience in a niche, maybe you can do merch. Or if you're like me, what I've done is I now go to brand deals. So I just did one. It did over 100 million views for Gorilla Glue. I did another one that did about 50 million views for Lowe's, the big store. And what those rely on, and the way that I think as a creator is I go, all right, the platforms don't want to pay me as much money, but I still have the ability to get triple-digit million views. What do? I go to a brand and I go, will you give me the money instead? Yes. And that's fine. And actually, there's some fun ways to do it. For example, for Gorilla Glue, I covered my entire office floor with pennies. We did 100,000 pennies glued down with Gorilla Glue. Now, Gorilla Glue didn't know this, but I did the video first, and then I went to Gorilla Glue and I said, hey, do you want to put your name on this? I've got the focus grouping on it. This is a $100 million hitter, I promise. And they were into it. And sometimes you got to take a big swing like that. Don't wait on one of these companies to approach you. Just start going and then start sending it out and be like, hey, look, this is a banger. You want your name on it? You can give me some money, that sort of thing.
Justin, thanks for coming in. We'd love to have you back on to talk about branded content in the short form space in a couple more months. I think it'd be a fascinating combo to have, and just keep crushing it. Love your content whenever it pops up on my feed. Thank you for being so forthright with the information you got, and looking forward to more from you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Get out here to Las Vegas and we'll play some Super Soaker Nerf Gun Wars.
I love that. That's a better excuse than any.
Thank you so much, Justin. Everybody go check him out. He's the Shorts King. Let's get to some uploads and downloads. I'm going to start with one. It turns out, I don't know, to upload, download, depending on your point of view. TikTok is currently beating Twitch to become the number 2 most watched streaming platform, which of course YouTube being number 1, and TikTok number 2, and Twitch is number 3. I'm okay with it because it turns out Twitch is like a home for like really horrible content. Google it. I don't know, crazy raging anti-Semites. I read a report. Yeah, call me crazy. Well, that's for my side podcast called like how to be a Jew right now. But anyway, moving on. TikTok has generated in Q1. TikTok Live generated 8.027 billion hours of watch time, which is 27% of the live streaming industry's total. YouTube at number 1 came with 50.3%, 14.98 billion watching hours. And I don't know, Twitch is number 3. Upload, download, depending on your point of view.
It's just, you wouldn't think Twitch would be number 3 because it's the live streaming platform and there are definitely defined Twitch stars.
Totally, but I also feel like it was acquired by Amazon, and like we all knows I don't know. I feel like you get into halls there, and maybe they're not giving it its support that it sort of needs to continue growing the way it was.
I also think that on Twitch, it's a definitely different type of live streaming experience that's happening that's not necessarily replicated on these other platforms too.
Yes, listen.
Lots
number
of
3's
odd, interesting things are going on YouTube, and YouTube has a much greater global audience that's contributing a lot of hours to this watch time.
Yes.
It is just interesting, though, that TikTok came in the number 2 place seemingly out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But it's because of all these live shopping experiences and also live mobile gameplay. So on TikTok, just because of the nature of the app, it's a vertical view format. You're always watching it on your phone and more. It really lends itself well to watching mobile gamers. Mm-hmm. Whereas YouTube and Twitch, more of a lean back, maybe PC gaming experience that you want to watch if you want to tune into that type of content. Mobile gaming, not necessarily as successful on those platforms, at least as a percentage of viewership, but TikTok maybe really got itself a niche here.
Uploads for you?
So Lauren, let's just go to college sports for a sec. And
Oh, thank
NIL,
God.
name, image, and likeness. So there's this House versus NCAA settlement, which is expected to be a $2.8 billion agreement that addresses the legal battles over revenue sharing and NIL deals in college sports. It includes back pay for athletes who played before the NCAA allowed NIL deals in 2021, and it establishes a framework for revenue sharing and athlete compensation moving forward. So some schools have come out and started to reveal how much revenue they're going to be sharing with athletes in the coming year and the percentage splits they'll be sharing with athletes moving forward too. So Georgia and other SE schools are expected to pay football athletes about 70% of revenue sharing. Georgia particularly said it will pay football players at least $13.5 million in revenue sharing this upcoming year. This is all part of the settlement. And football and men's basketball will be getting the vast majority of that revenue sharing. Georgia said is now able to add more than 100 scholarships to other sports thanks to those settlement terms. One particular downside of this is because the schools are paying out more for some of the elite sports, they're going to reduce their rosters a little bit to some degree. But overall, I mean, college athletes are not going to get paid.
We'll see what that means.
It's fascinating.
One last upload I think is great. So SAG-AFTRA, the union, has unanimously approved a recommendation to establish a committee for digital influencers. This is definitely no dumb magazine. I actually had lunch with Shane Griffin the other day, who kind of I heard about this before it was coming out. Well, SAG, that, you know, she's like, SAG is member led, and they needed she runs sort of like the digital kind of whole initiative there with digital talent creators. And they finally sort of announced that they're going to have an official committee made up of, you know, creators in the space and have them represent themselves within SAG. The quote from SAG: "The board approved the recommendation unanimously, moving to provide crucial production support and representation for the influencer community by establishing the National Influencer and Digital Creator Committee, which will be chaired by creator Patrick Janelle." The thing that's so important about SAG getting involved with creators, to me, the only reason why this is so important to me is kids creators and vloggers. We have seen over the last few years just like how terribly so many of these kids have been sort of mistreated by their parents, who just are very excited about the wrong priorities, it would seem. So I don't know how that's regulated. It even says, I think, on their website how creators still operate in this gray area, and how you regulate all of this stuff is very, I think this is a long road, but I think it's a step in the right direction.
SAG's been working on this for a while, Lauren. It'll be interesting to see if they can make some traction now.
All right, Josh, I think we did it.
Lauren, I think that's it. I'll see you playing the hottest new mobile game on TikTok, just trying to tap into some of that live viewership.
Just tap away.
What mobile games would you play?
Tetris?
A Broadway-themed Tetris? You should create that. Or else we'll see you next week on Creator Upload. Today's show was produced by Lauren Schnipper, Joshua Cohen, and Adam Connor. It's edited by Adam Connor as well. Original music is by London Bridge. You can check him out on Instagram at London Bridge Music. Make sure you subscribe to Creator Upload on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. While you're there, give us a rating, leave us a comment. We love seeing those. If you want to talk, hit us up at info@creatorupload.com. If you like our show, recommend it to a friend. Subscribe on YouTube too. We're here now as well. Thanks for listening to Creator Upload, and we will be back next week.